Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Soul Pathways and Divine Adventures, the podcast where I talk to businesses all around the United States that are in the spiritual realm and how they came about and how they got to where they're at today. So I would like to introduce Jennifer Glandt from Resonant Spaces. It is I want to get this right, is a Feng Shui teaching and consulting business.
Yes.
So, Jennifer, welcome. Thank you for joining me
Oh,
today.
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, I just want to let you introduce yourself and explain a little bit about your business.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Glandt. I'm in the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, and by day I am a high school Spanish teacher. So I've been doing that for
Love
about
that.
30 years, and then the feng shui came into play probably in the last 10 years or so, and is kind of my side business. And well, it hasn't been a business for that long. It's been a interest in a growing passion, and then finally kind of resulted in a formal business as of about a year and a half ago.
Yay!
Yeah.
That's exciting. So, what inspired you to start? I mean, not many people understand what feng shui is. So, if you can explain a little bit about that,
Not a
what
ton,
inspired you?
and not as much in the Midwest. It seems to be like it's a little bit more well known and popular on the East West Coast and maybe down south a little bit, but not as much in this area. I stumbled across it, to be honest. I had probably heard of it in passing long ago, but it really came back for me, probably about 9, 10 years ago. I was going through a challenging time for multiple different reasons, just life. And somehow I stumbled across a class, and it was an online course that was called A Year to Clear. And it was a daily email for a year, 365 emails. It wasn't specifically feng shui, but she was into space clearing. And she talked a lot about emotional clearing. And some days it was just like a little quote or a little short reading to kind of reflect on. And other days it was kind of like a task, maybe a short meditation or cleaning out the junk drawer or something like that. And it was really through taking that class that I kind of feng shui got on my radar. And I was curious, and just started exploring it, reading everything online, reading library books, buying books, and started experimenting with myself, my home, my classroom. And I found that it worked. I found that it was really helpful, and it kept me going, kept me digging further into it. And then in 2022, I did Reiki 1 and 2, and searched around and finally decided on an actual program, like a certification for feng shui that I wanted to do, that it kind of resonated with me that this is the one. Because there are a lot of different schools of feng shui, it can get a little bit confusing and they can seem a little contradictory sometimes. So I did a lot of research before deciding on the one that I wanted to do.
Okay. So, what does the name like feng shui actually mean?
Actually translates as wind and water.
Okay.
And that is supposed to symbolize the flow of energy through our space, chi, as they call it. Um, as people, I'm guessing that probably most people watching this show are aware with the energetic kind of foundation of everything, and everything at its base is energy and vibration. And so the same chi that we talk about balancing internally with Reiki or with sound therapy or any of these other modalities is also the energy that's flowing around us in our environment.
Okay.
So I feel like, as within, so without. And I've been thrilled to see the last number of years that more and more people are kind of coming around to different types of energy work in our area. But I feel that it's been more internally focused, and that there's kind of a missing piece with the role that your environment plays.
So could talk about a little bit more like when we talk about the environment, you talk about people's homes. So what does that
Mhm.
mean when you're going to come in and do a consultation for someone in their home? What does that involve?
Well, the first step is an intake interview. By the way, I have done both in person and virtual consultations. It does work either way. A little bit more work on the client's part if you're virtual, just because obviously I'm not there to take the pictures or to get a floor plan. But I do the intake interview and talk about what your top couple of issues are. Um, Most people don't want to feng shui an entire house all at one time. So it helps to kind of focus in on a specific area. Um, and it's easiest to focus what area to start with by talking about how that aligns with what kind of issues you have going on in your life.
Okay.
So there is a Bagua map. If I don't know, I'll explain a little bit for those who aren't familiar. Gua is just the different area of your life and of your home, and Bagua just means the map of the areas. So it's called the Bagua map. And there's a
It's
wealth
like,
corner, there's a relationship corner, there's a career area, there's health, and all the main aspects of our life have an area that is related. It's I think an easy explanation is it's something similar to reflexology for your house.
is there
Um,
like a set number of areas or is it
there
different?
are 9 boxes.
Okay.
Generally, it's 8 areas with around the center.
Okay.
So um, it's arranged by area of life, and then each area is related to a specific color, number, element, as opposed to the Western elements. The Chinese used 5 elements: wood, earth, water, metal, and fire. So, looking at what represents the different elements, you can kind of amplify, for example, if you want to play up the wood element in your wealth corner by using wood or using rectangular shapes or using the number 4. It seems a little bit strange at first, and I have to admit that instead of discarding it, I got really curious. I was like, well, what made these people put these seemingly kind of random concepts together? And it really does come down to the vibration. It comes down to everything being vibrational, and shapes have vibration, and colors have vibration, and the elements have a vibration. And when you can align the two that are in sync, it amplifies, and
Okay.
so therefore you'd be amplifying your wealth corner. And you'd want to therefore make sure that you don't have too much fire in your wealth corner, because the wealth corner is wood and fire would burn wood. So that's just kind of a very simplistic way of how they look at the element cycle and balancing the elements and playing up a certain aspect in one area of your home versus somewhere else.
Wow, that is so interesting. So do you have like handouts that you bring with you when you come to a consultation,
Yes.
explain all this to everyone?
Yes, a
Okay.
copy of the Bagua map, a copy of the general the general qualities that are associated with yin and yang. I think most people are familiar with the symbolism, but maybe haven't really kind of thought of it in terms of how that would apply to your environment or your decor and that sort of a thing. Um,
Right.
Straight lines versus curves, and soft versus hard, and materials, and all sorts of different things. So there's the yin and the yang, and the Bagua map, and the 5 elements are kind of the basic tools that we use to kind of analyze a space.
Okay.
Um, so the Bagua map, like I said, is about vibrations and resonance, and that's actually where my name came from, Resonant Spaces.
I was just
Um,
wondering that. I was just like, how did you come up with the name? So,
yeah, so people will say, "Oh my gosh, that totally resonated with me," that sort of thing. This is vibrational resonance, and you want your space to resonate with who you are currently, with who you are hoping to become, where you're headed, and just generally resonate with whatever your highest good is, your highest possible outcome. So feng shui doesn't guarantee a certain outcome or necessarily on a certain timeline. But I have found that it does really work, and it has brought a lot of balance to my home, myself, my life. My husband and I both feel that we kind of, even if we haven't gotten like exactly what an intention was set for, we kind of handle life better, go with the flow a little bit better. I think it kind of helps you um, gracefully handle the things that life throws your way sometimes.
helps you relax a little bit more,
It
right?
does. It does. Definitely. Your house should kind of be your sanctuary and where you can relax and get restored and feel good again.
I love that.
Um,
So, go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to finish with the consultation. So after we meet and discuss what your concerns are, then I take that information back and come up with um, not so much a plan of action, because this really has to be a two-way conversation. So I come up with a list of possible solutions. And then when we meet again, we actually go over and discuss it. So it might it might be purchasing new things or repainting a room, but on the other hand, it doesn't have to be expensive. So I think it's important for everybody to know that um, it's not something that's beyond your budget. We can work within your budget. And a lot of times there's really small things that you can tweak, or things that maybe you're using over here and you never thought about putting them over here. And this would actually create a much better flow. So,
Okay.
so there's a report and a discussion, and then whatever decisions are come to through that conversation, then I go back and I write up a finalized kind of like action plan and send that out. So you actually have a concrete um, checklist that you can kind of follow.
Okay. So, you do the initial consultation. How long does that typically take? Or is it just varies by
It does
person?
vary. I would say roughly an hour, hour and a half, depending how chatty we are.
Okay. And we know we women, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes,
So,
sometimes they've gone really long just because, and I didn't charge more for that, but just because we hit it off and had a lot to talk about.
yeah. So when someone so they have the consultation, how long does it take in between when you're designing up the plans or whatever to get back to them? How long
I
is that?
usually I usually need about a week. So anything, from a week to two, depending on the person's schedule and when we can schedule to reconnect.
Okay.
So usually not too long.
Okay. And it's important, I think, for everyone to know that you're doing this part-time right now. So,
Yes.
it'll
Yeah. Right
be
now it's evenings, weekends, and I'm pretty wide open in the summer. Hopefully just a couple more years, and then I'll be definitely more open with my schedule.
well, I hope so too. Like Jennifer has been to my house before, and I already know the money corner of my house. I'm so excited. Like, so, what I guess I could for the viewers, like what sets your business apart from other spiritual businesses?
I think the biggest thing really is kind of what I mentioned, that there's a lot of focus with other spiritual businesses on internal energy balancing, and certainly I've done my share, and that's not not important. But I think the difference is addressing the environment.
Okay.
And the flow of energy, of course, is the most basic part of feng shui, but there's also kind of a psychological component to it. And your subconscious mind operates with metaphor and image instead of words. So the artwork and the decor and kind of the messaging that you're sending yourself that most people aren't even aware of, um, what messaging they might be sending themselves and reinforcing in themselves subconsciously by how they have their space arranged or how they have it decorated, what things that they have, where their clutter is, that sort of a thing can actually be aligned with this map and with, you know, clutter in your relationship area could very well align with issues, blockages, in your relationships in the real world.
Right,
Um,
right.
so that's kind of an important thing. And one of the things that I love about it is it's very much personal. It's not like there's one way to feng shui a house or that I'm going to suggest the same kind of decor to five different people because it's feng shui. It's really very personal in your relationship to your home, your relationship to your objects. Little bit of Marie Kondo there. Do you love it? Do you need it? Do you use it? Why do you have it? Why do you hang on to it even if you don't love it, use it, need it? What is your relationship to the item and why you have it? And being very intentional about why you have everything you have. I love the analogy of a 3D vision board. A lot of people are familiar with making a real, vision board on a board, cutting things out of magazines and whatnot. But I love just the concept of living in it. Like everywhere
Right.
you turn in your home is something purposeful that reminds you of a particular intention. And I think
Mm.
when it's done well, it's not like you're 24/7 walking through your home consciously thinking, oh, I put that there because da 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 da. But it's that subliminal, that subconscious programming that we're not aware of that is, giving us positive reinforcement, just living in the space if you have it arranged correctly.
This is like coming in to me, I imagine like coming into my home, after working or whatever I'm doing and just like feeling that coming home comfortable feeling. And I think
Definitely.
that's kind of what you're talking about.
Yes.
Is there like and I don't know if I'll say this right or ask it the right way. So is there like too much you can have in your home that makes it not comfortable, or too less of things? Like, you have some people that are minimalists that don't want
Yes.
a lot of things, and then you have some people that, I don't want to say like hoarder, but they like a lot of stuff. So is there
Right.
like a balance between that, or
I think this is where it really depends on the person and the why behind
okay.
all of the things that you have. You don't have to get rid of everything and become a minimalist. But once again, you should have a reason for why you kept something, why you're hanging on to it. It has a positive memory. Um, was created or given to you by a loved one. But on the other hand, you really have to look at the relationship to it. Like, are you keeping it out of guilt because you don't really love it, but you feel obligated to keep it? Um, it's a tough one, but it's actually something that's probably subconsciously reinforcing guilt every time you see it. And that's probably not a great thing. Um, so you do some kind of deep digging sometimes with certain things, and like I said, why you have what you have and whether you should still have it or not.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not it's not about maximalist or minimalist, and it's not even about spending a lot of money. There can be really beautiful showcase homes that don't really have very good feng shui. Um, and especially if you haven't personalized it, because everything is very personal. And so if it just looks very kind of cold and like pristine, like somebody's walking into a hotel lobby or a museum, and oh, I don't want to like get this dirty, or oh, be careful, don't break something, then that's not necessarily a really comforting vibe. That's not really
Right. It's not
something
a very
that
nice,
makes you
comforting
feel
atmosphere.
at home and really
Yeah.
welcome. And it might be beautiful, but it might not really have great shui. Um, and if it doesn't speak at all to who you are, if you have nothing out there to personalize it, it's just a lot of pretty objects that you picked out, but there's nothing, something you made or a photograph or a painting that like actually really means something to you or speaks to a trip that you were on. It's really important to personalize it and not just go for the overall aesthetic.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You want things that mean things to you. And I think about like even in my own situation, I have things that have been handed down from my parents or my grandparents. And they have value, but it's just a memory value, right? So it's just
Mhm.
like you said, are we holding on to it out of guilt? Do we really like it? Do we need it? Like, or can we just pass along to someone else who might appreciate it even more?
Well, and I did a lot of that when my husband and I, over the course of a couple of years, did some pretty heavy duty Marie Kondoing. Like, do we love it? Do we need it? No, gone. We
Right.
actually had a
Yeah.
6x6 dumpster delivered, and we just started tossing things. But we also gave a lot away. We gave a lot
Yeah.
to different organizations that do the resale, the St. Vincent de Paul and Goodwill and
Sure.
things like that. Um, and I thought so often, I'm like, I really loved this at one time, but never use it. It sits on a shelf in the basement. Some kid is gonna like feel like they won the lottery when they come across this. They're gonna be like, Mom, this is amazing. And so, yeah, you really think about somebody using it instead of you just storing it
Storing it.
somewhere.
And I always like I get in my philosophy, and this is just my personal philosophy. It's like, when a person is gone, I mean, I want to celebrate their life and that they were here, but the material things aren't as important as celebrating who they were. So
Right.
just to hang on to it because you feel like you have to and it's a frustration. I totally agree with you. Like, then give it to someone who might really appreciate it. And it's going to mean even more to your loved one that passed on, that someone else is having it, then appreciates it. Yeah.
Right. It's gonna be more that somebody is actually using it and engaging with it and appreciating it, I think.
Yeah.
And,
I agree.
maybe something that just saving a picture of it would suffice to save that memory, but you don't need to have the physical object in
That's
storage.
awesome. So you're doing it. Well, we're hoping you're going to be doing this full time soon. You're doing it part time
Hopefully,
right
yeah.
now. So excited for the business. There's not, as far as I know, a lot of feng shui consultants. It's
Not a lot, maybe a handful in the state, so that I'm aware
okay.
of.
So, do you do classes anywhere? Do you do anything in your
Yes,
teaching school?
having been a teacher by trade here for a very long time, I enjoy doing the classes, and I feel like, well, as anybody who's taught anything knows, like you learn it better when you teach it, and just being forced to come up with a concise explanation and teach it to somebody really helps. So I've had a lot of fun teaching classes over the past year or so. I've done just a general kind of broad introduction to feng shui. And
Okay.
then my most recent class, I kind of focused in on space clearing and using different herbs and how they can kind of play a role in feng shui. So that was really
Awesome.
cool too. So I
So are these
taught at
classes online? Are they online? Are they in
That's one
person?
of
How
my
do you do
future
it?
goals, actually. I'm working on the web page right now, and that will give me the opportunity to offer classes online because I feel like there's been a lot of interest in them, and then, not a huge turnout for the classes themselves. Maybe I think my largest class was 9, but usually like 3 to 5 people. Um, and it's been suggested to me that, it's just the way of the world. People, it's a lot easier once you're home and you can get into something comfy and you can just go click and join the class instead of driving somewhere at night and taking the time to drive and all of that. Um, so that is something that I would like to offer as an option, but I do love in-person classes. This last one I did at Sweet Willow in De Pere, and that was so much fun because they make their own food and tea right there.
Oh,
So we had
nice.
these fabulous little yin yang cookies and a feng shui tea, which you can't do unfortunately when you're virtual, but both ways are good. Both ways are good. I
Oh,
just kind of want to get the word out. So
yeah. So where else? So you said the Sweet Willow, right? Where else do you teach classes at locally?
so far I have taught at Runic Apothecary in
Okay.
Ashwaubenon and 9th Street Wellness Center in Bellevue.
Okay.
And we'll hopefully be teaching some classes in the Lakeshore area, Two Rivers and Manitowoc next year.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
I'm
excited
anxious
for
to
that.
kind of branch out a little bit.
Yeah. So I know you're working on your website, but how else can people get a hold of you if they want more information on feng shui? And we'll put this, obviously when I roll this out, we'll put it at the bottom, but how else can people get a
Sure.
hold of you to find out more?
You can look up Resonant Spaces on Facebook. I have a Facebook page. I also have Instagram, which is fairly similar content. Um, my number you'll have listed, my um, email. You can call me, you can email me, you can text me. Um, I did a number of vendor shows last year. I haven't been doing them as much this year for um, family health reasons.
Yeah.
It's been hard
You
to
know,
kind of commit ahead of time a couple months down the road to something when you don't really know what's going to be
yep.
going on.
Hey, family always
But
comes first. We've had that
it does.
conversation.
It
We weren't
does.
even sure if we were going to be doing this podcast today because
No,
family
no,
always comes first. And you know what? This stuff all just falls in line afterwards. So, I mean,
it
you can't take the
does.
place of that. So,
But
um,
I do want to mention really quickly, I'm super excited. I'm spending a lot of my weekend time preparing for February. I am going to be at the Green Bay Home and Lifestyle Experience. So,
that's what I was going to ask you about. So you read my mind.
oh, excellent. So I'm really excited about that. I'll be giving some presentations, working to set up trend space, I believe they called it. So basically a mock-up area where you'll actually be able to walk through 2 offices. One of them will be feng shuied and the other one will not.
Okay.
And so that you can kind of feel and see the difference. And yeah, so I'm hunting for the right furniture for doing those mock-ups right now. And then when that gets put together, I'll have like a handout kind of leading people through it, kind of like a self-guided tour of the room.
Oh, that'll be cool. So this is in February, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Do you
It's
have
the
the
7th
dates?
through the 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
February 7th through the 9th at the Rush Center.
At the Rush Center. It's a home and garden show, right? Okay. We can,
They call
or what?
it Green Bay Home and Lifestyle Experience.
Okay. All right. That's good. So anyone listening will know to come see you there in
Yeah,
February. I think
yeah.
that's going to be amazing. Um, I guess just like to wrap it up, is there anything else that we missed or that you want the viewers to know?
Hmm. I don't know. I don't think so. Just that it's amazing when you start paying attention to your environment and you start tuning into it, the different things that you actually pick up and the connections that you see and signs that kind of show up. So it's been really beneficial to me and to my family in a lot of different ways. And
Yeah.
if,
Good.
yeah, if you're
I
at
can
all
see.
curious, definitely check it out. I think that
Oh,
taking it into a little bit broader and looking at our workspace, our home space, and you can even apply feng shui to your entire yard, your garden, your property. Um,
so it's not just inside. That's a
no,
really
it's
good point to
outside
make. It
too.
could be
It's
outside
outside
as
too.
well.
Yeah.
I definitely need you next year.
Okay.
So, I know how inspired you are by this business. It's easy to see when you're talking about it. Just in your expressions. And I've known Jennifer for probably a little over a year now, I think.
Yeah, at least. Yeah.
At least a year, if not, a year plus, but
Yeah.
and she's just amazing,
Oh,
the
thank
work
you.
that she does, and so excited to get this out there so people know that, feng shui is something that's in the community. And like you said, being able to do it virtually, you can then connect with people outside of the state of
Yeah.
Wisconsin or that are long distance. And I think that's a huge
Yes,
benefit.
it
Yeah.
is. I had a client in South Carolina, so that was fun.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have, unless you have anything else you want to add. This has been wonderful.
No.
I can't wait
Yes,
to,
thank you so much.
you're welcome, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.